Good day everyone, welcome again to another episode of Tax Training. Today I will discuss to you tutorials on how to close the books of accounts. Why? Because it's year end and it is mandatory for us to file financial statements. That's why it is important that we know how to close our books of accounts. How to close the books of accounts. No? So at the end of the accounting period, the company makes the account ready for the next period. No? So this is called closing the books. Why? Kasi mag-i-end na yung isang taxable period. And when we say one taxable period, we mean 12 months. No? And then magdudyo na based on the records that we have during the 12 months, magdudyo na yung ating annual income tax return. No? So why do we close our books of accounts? To prepare for the next taxable period. Kaya natin i-close yun dahil tapos na yung isang taxable period, magbibigay na naman tayo doon sa bagong accounting period. No? So for those individual, hindi po tayo allowed ng fiscal year. So our ending is December 31. So doon sa mga corporations naman na allow sila to use the fiscal year, so pwedeng ibang month yung ending nila, hindi December 31. No? Pero karamihan, including the individual, kahit na corporation, they choose to end their books, their taxable year, December 31. No? So in closing the books, the company distinguishes between temporary and permanent accounts. Kasi i-close na natin yung books, ano ba yung mga accounts na dapat natin i-close? So we have accounts classified as temporary accounts. No? Ito yung mga account na nandoon sa ating income statement. So, try to picture out. Ano ba yung income statement natin? Di ba nandyan yung sales, less cost of sales, pwede siyang raw materials kung manufacturing, no? We have gross profit, and then less operating expenses. Ano ba yung mga nasa expenses natin? Can be taxes and licenses, salaries and wages, utilities, communication, transportation, miscellaneous, we have employees benefits, we have depreciation, no? So lahat ng expenses na incur ng companies or ng negosyo natin during the year, kiniklaim natin dyan sa ating income statement, no? So ang mga income statement accounts na yan, ang tawag dyan temporary accounts. Why temporary accounts? Because good for 1 year lang sila. Hindi mo sila pwedeng i-carry over the following year. Why? Kasi ibang kagaya ng sales. Pagdating ng next taxable year, ibang sales na naman ang i-account mo. Hindi mo na i-account yung sales ng last year, no? So, o kaya hindi mo idagdag yung sales na gagawin mo the following year. No? So, close na. Bakit? Hanggang doon na lang yung sales na pwede mong i-report for that one taxable year. Yung sales for the next taxable year, iba naman yun. Hindi nakasali yung previous years. No? Permanent accounts relate to one or more future accounting periods. Why relate to one or more accounting periods? Kasi permanent account siya. Hindi siya nagtatapos sa isang accounting period lang or in one taxable year. Bakit? Kasi hindi man siya nauubos at saka assets siya. No? So ano yung mga permanent accounts natin? Lahat ang nandyan sa balance sheet accounts are what we call as permanent accounts. Why permanent accounts? Kasi kini-carry over natin siya, hindi natin kino-close up to the next taxable period. No? So ano yung mga example? The balance sheet accounts, kasama na yung stockholders equity accounts, they are called as permanent accounts and they are not closed, no? At the end of the period or one taxable year. Kasi bakit? Kini-carry forward yung mga balances niya to the next accounting period. Okay. So, temporary accounts, these accounts, your balance, income statement accounts ay kino-close natin. No? Ano to? Ito yung mga revenue accounts and expense accounts and dividends. Ang permanent accounts naman, ito yung nasa balance sheet, stockholders equity, ito yung assets accounts, liabilities account, and then stockholders equity account. Hindi po yan kino-close. So, how do we prepare for the closing entries? No? The company transfer temporary account balance to the permanent stockholders equity account. No? So, the retained earnings by means of closing entries. No? So, closing entries recognize in the ledger the transfer of net income or net loss and dividends by retained earnings. No? So, the retained earnings statement shows the result of these entries. The closing entries are also produce a zero balance in its temporary account. Bakit zero balance na sa temporary account? Kasi kinuklose na yung account na yan para wala ng balance. No? So, temporary accounts are then ready to accumulate data in the next accounting period. Separate from the data of the prior periods. Kasi hindi mo sila pwedeng pagsamahin dahil magkakaroon na ng ibang total sa isang taxable period. Permanent accounts are not closed. No? So, journalizing and posting closing entries is a required step in the accounting cycle. So, just like meron tayo yung day-to-day transactions natin, nagpo-post po tayo sa journal, ganon din po yung mga closing entries natin na dapat ipopost din natin sa journal and then sa ledger. No? Closing entries at the end of the annual accounting period. No? So, temporary accounts will contain data for the entire year. Bakit? Kasi mandatory po yan sa BIR, sa SEC, ng ating report is for a one taxable year, which is 12 months. Nagkakaroon lang ng mga interim financial statements, depende na lang yan kung may mga instances or situation na kailangan yung short period return. Just like closure ng business o kaya yung business nag-umpisa ng late na, so ang one taxable period niya is shorter than the 12-month period. So in preparing the closing entries, companies could close its income statement account directly to retained earnings. No? So, pwede niya i-close sa retained earnings. Kaso lang, kung ang dami ng mga account, mapuno mo yung retained earnings. Kaya anong ginagawa ng mga company? There is what we call as income summary. No? So, income summary, yung result na lang doon sa income summary, yung balance, yun na lang pinopost sa retained earnings. Now, okay. So, umpisa, the companies record the closing entries in the general journal. No? So, ano yung caption niya doon? Closing entries. No? And then, inserted in the journal between the last adjusting entry and the first closing entry. No? Identifies these entries. The company posts the closing entries to the ledger account. No? So, ito yung sample natin na journal na closing entries. No? Okay. So, ito yung ating mga sample ng closing entries. No? So, we have here the date. Halimbawa, yung ending natin is September 30. So, we have service revenue, debit, and then i-credit natin yung income summary. Bakit? Ano bang purpose ng income summary? That is yung account na lahat ng debit and credits na pupunta doon sa income, dito muna bago siya ilagay o i-add doon sa retained earnings. No? And then we have the income summary, kung magkano yung expense account, and then i-credit natin yung expense account. Yun yung pagko-close natin ng interest. Diba? Usually, ang entry sa expense is debit. So, dito, kin-credit mo para mag-zero out siya. No? And then, we also have the income summary, debit, credit, retained earnings to close income to retained earnings. Kasi bakit natin kinlose? Dahil nilipat na natin yung income doon sa retained earnings. And then, pagdating na doon sa retained earnings, binawasan na naman natin yung retained earnings ng 500 kasi nag-declare tayo ng dividend. No? So, to close dividends to capital. Okay, so yun po yung mga sample natin ng closing entries. No? And then, sabi dito, pagka na-post mo na siya sa general journal, ang susunod dyan, i-post mo rin siya sa ledger. No? So, ito yung ledger po natin. So, nandyan yung sa letter A natin, no? Meron na tayo dyan na account ng accounts receivable, advertising supplies, the accounts payable, accumulated depreciation, office equipment. So, nandyan sa letter A. Tapos sa sale, nandyan yung cash, nandun yung common stock. Sa F, nandyan yung Wala. Sa I, nandyan yung interest expense. Sa J, wala. Sa N, nandyan yung notes payable. Sa O, office equipment. And then sa P, prepaid insurance. Sa S, salaries payable. Sa U, unearned revenues. Okay. So, paano natin siya post, no? So, same. Ito yung mga account natin sa ledger, no? We have cash. We have accounts receivable. So, ito yung mga tinatawag natin na permanent accounts, no? Kasi balance sheet account siya. We have advertising supplies. We have prepaid insurance. We have office equipment. We have accumulated depreciation, office equipment. We have notes payable. We have accounts payable. Okay. So, we have unearned revenue. We have salaries payable. Okay. So, we also have interest payable. Yun po yun nandyan sa ating ledger. Yan yung mga accounts natin. We have common stock. No? Common stock. We have written earnings. No? So, lahat yan, what we call as balance sheet accounts. And then, we have dividends. No? Dividends. And then, we have the income summary. No? Ito yung income summary. Dito natin i-close lahat ng expenses. No? At saka yung closing entries natin. And then, we have the service revenue. We have the depreciation expense. No? We have the insurance expense. And then, we have the salaries expense. We have the prepaid rent, no? Na nagiging rent expense na siya, no? Nagiging rent expense na siya kasi ginamit tinagal na natin yung na-earn na natin or yung naging expense na natin sa rent, no? So, yun po yung ating account sa yun yung mga accounts natin sa ledger, no? So, adjusting entries, how do we go about the adjusting entries? Paano natin gagawin, no? So, pag gumawa tayo ng adjusting entries, we have to debit its revenue account for its balance and credit income summary for total revenues. Ito yung nasa video na natin, no? And then, next step is to debit the income summary for total expenses and credit each expense account for its balance. And then, debit income summary and credit written earnings for the amount of net income. So, ibig sabihin na lang, nakaprepare na tayo ng ating income statement. Bakit? Kasi alam na natin yung net income. And then, debit written earnings for the balance in the dividends account and credit dividends for the same amount, no? Para yung dividend na bawas doon sa ating written earnings. Okay. So, this is the example. So, individual expenses, papunta yan sa income summary, no? And then, yung individual revenues, pupunta din yan sa income summary, no? So, yung revenues, credit, yung expenses, debit. Okay. And then, from the income summary, pupunta yung income summary mo sa written earnings. Yung result ng income summary, yung balance niyan, pupunta sa written earnings, no? Since the written earnings is a permanent account, all other accounts are temporary accounts, no? So, from the written earnings, pupunta naman ang dividend, pambawas siya doon sa written earnings, no? So, okay, close revenues to income summary, no? So, pag kinlose mo yan doon, and then ibawas mo yung expenses, makikita mo na ang net income. Close expenses to income summary, no? So, kuha mo na yung net income. Close income summary to written earnings. Yung total na ng income summary, yun ang i-post mo sa written earnings. And then, close dividends to written earnings. And that's complete. Tapos na, no? Meron ka ng balances para sa income statement mo. Okay? So if there were a net loss, no, there would be a credit to income summary and a debit to retained earnings. So baligtad pagka-income. Okay, let's now go to closing entries, no? So companies generally prepare closing entries only at the end of the annual accounting period. Kasi mandatory yun that you have to close your books of accounts in preparation for the next taxable year, no? Ito yung general journal natin, no? So ito yung general journal, andyan. Ito yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina na ano yun. Ito yung closing entries natin, no? So we have the service revenue and then the income summary. How much is that? 10,000, 10,000. So debit 10,000, service income and credit income summary 10,000. Bakit baligtad na to sa usual na entry? Na 'di ba sabi natin ang sales revenue doon sa regular na entry natin, credit siya kasi doon siya sa credit. Pag nag-credit ka, madadagdagan siya. Dito, bakit siya naging debit? Kasi kinlose natin, binawasan natin para maging zero. No? So, to close revenue account. Okay. So, pagdating naman sa income summary, we debit income summary 7,740 and then we credit the expenses. Sa regular natin na transactions, we always debit the expense accounts. No? Kaya sa regular natin, kung balikan mo yung advertising supplies expense, debit yan. Yung depreciation expenses, debit din yan kasi expense. Pero dito, since this is a closing entries, baligtad. No? So, kung mapapansin ninyo, ang dinebit mo dito yung income summary and then kinredit mo yung expenses. Bakit? Kasi i-close mo na yung mga expenses, i-claim mo na siya. No? So, saan mo siya kinlose? Sa income summary. Okay. Ano pa? Yung result doon sa income summary, i-close naman natin ngayon doon sa retained earnings. Bakit siya credit ang retained earnings dito? Kasi dagdagan natin yung retained earnings, no? Kasi ang result ng operation, which is the net income, dagdag yan sa retained earnings during the year. So in this case, since dinagdag natin, nag-credit tayo ng retained earnings, no? To close net income to retained earnings. And then, meron tayong dividend na 500. Anong ginawa natin? We debit retained earnings 500 and then credit dividends na 500 para mabawasan ang retained earnings ng dividend because nag-declare tayo, nagbayad tayo ng dividends. No? Ang dividend is not an expense. Direct siya na deduction sa retained earnings. Hindi siya regular na expenses. Okay? So, ganyan po ang pagka-post dito sa ng closing entries. No? So, may guide na kayo dito. This is the standard naman na closing entries na pwede nyo magamit yan sa actual nyo pag gumagawa na kayo ng libro nyo. No? So, yung sa PowerPoint natin, yan ang hitsura ng General Journal. Pag sinulat nyo na yan dito sa actual na books of accounts, ganito na po yung hitsura niya. The amount of income summary are the totals of the income statement, credit and debit columns, no? Kasi nga summary na siya, no? And then ito yung reminder sa atin, no? Avoid unintentionally doubling the revenue and expense balances rather than zeroing them. Paano siya nagiging double yung revenue and expense balance niya? Pag nagpareho ka na debit sa isang account o nagpareho ka na credit. So, instead na bawas, nadagdag pala. And do not close dividends sa income summary account. Why? Kasi ang dividends are not expense for the company. No? Direct siya na deduction sa retained earnings kasi hindi po siya allowable deductions when it comes to the computation of net income. Hindi mo i-consider ang dividend because dividend is share na ng net income ng mga stockholders. So, hindi siya kasama sa available na mga expenses na pwede mo i-claim in order to arrive at the net income. Posting closing entries, no? So, paano natin i-close ipopost yung closing entries, no? So, the income summary account is used only in closing companies, no? So, do not journalize and post entries to this account during the year. Kaya nga, summary account lang siya eh. Huwag mo siyang gamitin during the year. Pang closing entry lang siya talaga. Oh. So, the closing process, company's total balance, and double rule the temporary accounts revenues. Bakit double rule the temporary accounts revenues? Kasi close na sila. No? So, permanent accounts, assets, liabilities, and stockholders' equity are not closed. Hindi sila pwedeng i-close kasi permanent account sila, kini-carry over sila the following year. No? A single roll is drawn beneath the current period entries and the account balance carried forward for the next period is entered below the single roll. No? So, yung mga pag-close at ng entries. No? Pagka permanent accounts, single roll lang. Pagka temporary accounts, i-double roll mo. No? So, makikita natin yan mamaya. Okay. So, this is the example natin. No? So, for the advertising supplies expense, magkano yung expense natin? 1,500. No? So, lahat yan, iisang total lang yan, pupunta yan sa income summary. No? So, magkano yung total yan? 7,740. Ang service income natin is 10,600, no? Kasi nakita natin may adjusting entries tayo kanina na 400 at saka 200. Kaya yung naging total service revenue natin for the year is 10,600. So saan yan pupunta? Pupunta yan sa income summary, no? Kasi mag-close na tayo. So pupunta yung 10,600 sa income summary, credit, and then ang debit natin yung mga expenses. Ang total is 7,740. So, anong balance natin? 2,860. Paano natin nakuha yan? 10,600 minus 7,740 na expenses. So, we have a net income of 10,860. Since we have the balance of 2,860, mapunta naman yan ngayon sa written earnings, no? Since credit balance ang written earnings, so yung 2,860 mapunta siya sa credit side na written earnings. Ngayon, ito namang dividend na 500, since deduction siya sa written earnings, nag-debit ka ngayon ng 500 for the dividends. No? So, for the dividend account, nag-credit ka ng 500 to close. No? So, yung dividend mo is 500. So, kinlose mo siya ng 500, credit ka. No? Okay, so how do you prepare for the post-closing trial balance? No? So, pagka natapos mo na i-journalize yung lahat ng mga accounts, then you prepare a post-closing trial balance. No? So, the post-closing trial balance, you list down the permanent accounts at saka kung magkano yung mga balances nila, yun yung mga na-post mo galing sa ledger. No? So, the purpose of the post-closing trial balance is to prove the equality of the permanent account balance is carried forward into the next accounting period. So, dapat tama yung balances, yung account total ng permanent account. Bakit? Kasi para tama yung beginning balance mo, tama yung pag-carry over the following year. Since all temporary accounts will have zero balance, the post-closing trial balance will contain only permanent balance sheet accounts. No? So, since mako-close na siya, ang temporary accounts, which is the income statement accounts, so ano yun? Yung income or service revenue, less direct cost, less operating expenses, no? Equals net income. Ang net income is a permanent account. Bakit? Pupunta na siya ngayon sa written earnings account. Yun yung sa income and summary account. No? Okay. So, ito yung post-closing trial balance, which is our example, no, for this company, ABC. So, we have the debits and we have the credits. And the total is 21,950. No? So, kung mapapansin ninyo dito sa trial balance, kompleto pa siya. Nandyan yung temporary accounts, which is the income statement accounts, and we have the balance sheet accounts, which is the permanent account. No? So, ano yung mga permanent account dito? We have the cash, accounts receivable, advertising supplies, the prepaid insurance, office equipment. We have notes payable. We have accounts payable, no? Common stock, retained earnings, yan yung mga permanent accounts. Okay, so the post-closing trial balance from the permanent accounts in the ledger, no, provides evidence that the company has properly journalized and posted the closing entries, no? So, at saka balanse yung total at the end of the accounting period, no? But yung trial balance does not prove that ABC has recorded all transactions or that the ledger is correct, no? Kasi kung tama lang naman yung paglagay mo ng debit and credit, talagang magbabalanse yan. But as to the accounts na ginamit mo, sometimes may mali, no? So, we have here the permanent account, the general ledger, no? So, ito na yung permanent accounts natin. So, for cash, nandoon yung lahat ng debits at saka sa credit ng cash. At yung ending natin is meron tayong balance na 15,200, no, for the cash. So ito yun, no. So these are the transactions during the month, no, kasi yung month lang yung ginamit natin dito, the year, the ending period. So September 1 we have 10,000, September 2 1,200, and September 30 we have 10,000. Yun ang total debits natin. And then for our credits cash account, nung September 3, we have 900. September 4, 600 credits po ito. So, bawas ito sa cash. So, nung September 20, 500, 26, 400, at saka, wala na, no? So, magkano lahat yung ating credit? Bawas natin yan dito sa debit natin so that our ending balance for the cash is 15,200 na debit, no? So, atin pa siya. Accounts receivable, we have also the balance is 200, no? Which is debit, no? So, yan. Yan, 200. Bakit may red dyan? Kasi yun yung closing entries natin. Bakit natin kino-close? Kasi para maging zero siya. Yung 200, ibawas mo yung 200 na kinlose mo, zero account. Bakit? Kasi ang purpose ng closing entries is to zero the account, no? Okay. Pero in this case, sa accounts receivable, hindi mo ito ma-zero ba? Bakit hindi zero? Kasi permanent account ito at ang account dito na kinuha natin, na i-close natin na entries, itong 200, i-carry over na lang natin to sa next taxable period, no? Kasi kung mapapansin nyo dito, wala siyang debit or credit. Kasi pag nag-close ka to zero it, yung 200 na debit, magka-credit ka ng another 200 para ma-close siya. But in this example, wala kang credit, kaya open na balance siya yung 200. I-carry mo for the next taxable year. Okay, so advertising supplies, we have debit 2,500 and then nag-adjusting entries tayo ng credit 1,500 para bawasan natin yung 2,500 na supplies dahil nagamit na yung 1,500, so our ending balance is 1,000. And then we have the prepaid insurance. So ano ba yung prepaid insurance natin? 600 yan, debit. So that is for the whole year. So, since 1 month lang itong report na ginagawa natin, so, magkano lang yung 1 month? 50 pesos lang. Kasi 600 divided by 12 equals 50. So, yung ating debit na 600, nag-credit tayo ng 50, our ending balance is 550. No? So, yun yung natira sa prepaid insurance natin. Okay. Dito naman sa office equipment, ito yung debit natin na 5,000 for the amount of the equipment. Dito sa example na to, hindi pa pinakita yung depreciation, no? Na nagbawas tayo dyan ng 40. Kaya ang balance niyan 4,000. 960. Okay? So, accumulated depreciation natin is 40. No? So, yung accumulated depreciation natin is 40 and kineri natin yan doon sa income summary, no, yung 40. For the notes payable, we have 5,000. And for the accounts payable, we also have 2,500. So, yun. So, ganyan yung sa libro. Yung nakikita ninyo sa PowerPoint, yun yung mga column-column na for purposes of presentation. Pero kung nandun na kayo sa manual ng books of accounts nyo, ganito na po yung hitsura niyan. For the unearned revenue, nagkaroon tayo ng adjustment, no? So, for the unearned revenue, we have adjusting entries na debit. Kasi ang balance ng unearned revenue is 1,200 na credit. So, meron tayong adjustment na 400 kasi for the month, na-earn na natin yung 400. So, magkano na lang yung unearned revenue natin? 800 na lang. Kasi ang 1,200 minus 400 is 800. No? So, yun na lang yung unearned revenue natin. Hindi na 1,200. And then, we also have the salaries payable. No? So, how much is our salaries payable? Yan, 1,200. No? So, ganyan po siya nakapost sa ating ledger, 1,200. And then, we have interest payable of 50. No? So, we also have common stock of 10,000. So, yan, 10,000 yung common stock natin. And then, we have the retained earnings. How much is our retained earnings? 2,860. Pero nagbawas tayo ng dividend na 500, no? So, 2,860, bawasan natin ng dividend na 500. So, our ending balance for retained earnings is 2,360, no? So, ito na siya. So, temporary accounts naman sa general ledger, no? Magko-close tayo ng account sa dividend. No? Paano natin i-close? So, ito yung dividend. Close natin yung 500 na dineclare natin. So, we debit dividend 500 and closing entry tayo ng credit ng 500. So, close na po yung ating dividend na account. Zero na. And then, we go to the income summary. So, ano ba yung income summary natin? Ito yung income summary na temporary account na ginawa natin sa closing entry. No, ang purpose po ng income summary is to accommodate the closing entries, no, na hindi siya marami, diretso na sa written earnings. So, dadaan muna siya sa income summary. So, nandun yung total debit at saka credit. So, yung ending balance na lang, yan ang ililipat natin sa written earnings. No? So, nag-debit tayo ng 7,740 and then nag-credit tayo ng sa closing entry natin, credit ng 10,600. Yan yung ating income, no? So, yung 7,740, yun po yung ating expenses. That's why yung balance natin sa income summary is 2,860. Sa service revenue naman, we have our credit ng 10,000. No, ibig sabihin, kumita tayo ng 10,000. So, credit yan. And then, nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang adjustment na pareho ding credit. So, ang adjustment mo is parehong credit, dagdag yan. So, magkano yung dalawang adjusting entries na yan? 400 at saka 200, 600. Idagdag mo sa 10,000. That's why our balance is 10,600. No? So, paano natin i-close yan? Kasi credit balance yan. I-debit natin yung 10,600 sa income summary. Napunta na siya sa income summary. That's why closed na itong service revenue. Zero na. Advertising supplies expense, adjusting entry natin is 1,500. So, credit natin ng 1,500 yung closing entries natin. And then we have depreciation. Debit tayo ng 40. And then closing entry tayo ng 40 for the depreciation. No? Closing entry natin is credit to close the depreciation expense. So, zero na siya. Bakit saan natin siya dinala? Doon sa income summary. Yun yung nagpa-zero out sa kanya dyan. Salary expense natin is 5,200, no? So, yung closing entries natin is 5,200. So, zero na rin yung ating salaries expense. For the prepaid rent, no? So, we have 900. Nag-adjust tayo ng 50. So, yung ating ending balance sa prepaid rent is 850. No? Paano natin yan kinlose? Doon sa prepaid rent, dinala natin sa balance sheet, no? So, nag-zero out tayo dyan. So, yung prepaid rent natin, dinala natin yan sa balance sheet, no? And then, yung rent expense natin, 50, no? Yung 50. Nag-debit tayo ng adjusting entry na 50, and then yung closing entry natin na 50. So, sa income and summary account. So, zero yung ating rent expense. Okay. So, summary ng accounting cycle natin. No? So, ito po yung ating accounting cycle. No? So, una-una, we have to analyze the business transaction. Ano ba yung business transaction? Ano ba yung ginawa? No? And then, after that, we have to journalize the transactions. Ano yung journalize the transaction? I-record po natin sila sa journal. Ito yung debit, credit. Pumili tayo ng accounts, no? Sa ibang video po natin, meron na tayo yung accounts, journal, at saka ledger, yung basic, no? So, paano paghanap ng mga chart of accounts, kung anong klase yung business nyo. Yun ang pipiliin ninyong chart of accounts. So, when you journalize, meron na kayong chart of accounts na nandoon yung account mo na debit and credit, doon mo ipapasok yung transaction. And then we have to step number 3, paid to ledger, post to ledger accounts, no? So, pagkatapos na natin mag-journal, anong gagawin natin? Ipo-post natin dito sa ledger accounts. Sa ledger accounts natin, ito na yung may debit and credit. Bakit? Kasi gusto nating malaman kung magkano yung balance niya at the end of the period. And then, kung alam na natin yung balance niya, ilagay na natin siya sa trial balance. Anong gagawin natin sa trial balance? Kukunin natin yung balance dito sa ledger at kung saan siya, kung debit siya, i-debit din natin sa trial balance. Kung credit siya, lagay din natin sa credit side ng trial balance. And then, journalize and post na adjusting entries. No? Yung isang video natin is about adjusting entries. Paano natin i-journalize? So, we start with the journalization and then posting sa ledger. And then, we prepare the adjusted trial balance. So, ibig sabihin, nakapag-adjust na tayo, i-adjust din natin yung ating trial balance. No? And then, prepare the financial statements, income statement, written earnings, statement, and then the balance sheet. No? So, kasama pa yan na mandatory sa pag nag-file tayo ng income tax return yung ating cash flow. Pero dito, sa accounting cycle, ang require lang nila yung tatlo. No? Income statement, written earnings, at saka yung balance sheet. And then after that, you have to journalize and post the closing entries. Kasi i-close mo na siya for the next taxable year. And then prepare a post-closing trial balance. So yung ginawa natin ngayon, itong sample ko sa inyo, this is the closing entries. No? Na magko-close tayo ng entries ng temporary accounts at saka yung permanent account, no? So, yung temporary accounts, i-close, pero yung permanent accounts, hindi po siya kino-close, kini-carry over lang to the next taxable period. So, there are two option steps in the accounting cycle. Iyon yung magpe-prepare tayo ng worksheet o kaya magpe-prepare tayo ng adjusting entries sa financial statements, no? Reversing entries, optional step, no? So, yung ibang accountant daw prefer to reverse certain adjusting entries by making a reversing entries. O bakit mo rin i-reverse? Para isi-zero mo at the beginning of the next accounting period, no? So, reversing entry is the exact opposite of the adjusting entry, no? So, use of reversing entry is an optional bookkeeping procedure. It is not a required step in the accounting cycle. No? Kasi pag nag-adjust na tayo and then dinala na natin sa trial balance, nagkaroon na tayo ng adjusted trial balance. So, yun na yung correct na balances pag gumawa tayo ng financial statements. Correcting entries, unavoidable step, no? So, bakit ano naman itong correcting entries? Correcting entries will be used only pag meron tayong error na nagawa. Pero kung wala naman, hindi na natin kailangan na mag-correct pa ng entries, no? So, correcting entries are necessary if there are mistakes committed during the preparation of the journal entries, trial balance, at saka yung ledger, no? So, you should recognize several differences between correcting entries and adjusting entries. So, adjusting entries are an integral part of the accounting cycle. Kailangan mo talagang mag-adjust to bring the accounts into the correct balance, no? Pero yung correcting entries, hindi siya necessary, no? Kasi kung wala namang error ang records mo, hindi mo na kailangan mag-correct. Okay. So, second, companies journalize and post adjustment only at the end of the accounting period. So, companies naman make correcting entries whenever they discover error. So, ang adjusting entries, year-end lang, ang correcting entries as they occur, no? As the error occur. Adjusting entries always affect at least one balance sheet account and one income statement account. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, i-debit mo yung asset, i-credit mo yung expense, no? So, isang asset account, isang income statement account pagka nagkaroon ka ng adjusting entries. So, in contrast, correcting entries may involve any combination of accounts in need of correction. So, kung ano yung nagkamali, yun lang. So, not necessarily na income statement account at balance sheet account siya pareho, no? So, correcting entries must be posted before closing entries. Kasi, kung may error yan at hindi mo kinorek, magiging mali pa rin itong trial balance mo. So, to determine the correcting entry, it is useful to compare the incorrect entry with the correct entry. Doing so helps identify the accounts and amounts that should and should not be corrected. So, kailangan natin ng correcting entries if there are errors committed. Pero pag wala, hindi na kailangan. But ano yung mandatory sa atin? The adjusting entries. So with that, I hope that I have enlightened you on this closing of the books of accounts, no? So I would like to say thank you and please subscribe po in our channel. Thank you very much and we call it a day.